Every school has a discipline policy to ensure classroom productivity and safety. However, how each school tackles the issue of discipline can be drastically different. One method of discipline that was widely used in the past was corporal punishment. Corporal punishment is a physical punishment such as spanking and paddling. This type of punishment has been banned in 31 states. However, 19 states still allow it. In California, the use of corporal punishment in schools is illegal. So you may be wondering, we live in California, why do we need to talk about this issue? An article published in Ed Week stated that more than 109,000 students were paddled, swatted, or otherwise physically punished in U.S. classrooms in 2013 to 2014. Even though corporal punishment is illegal in California schools, this is still a relevant topic in the U.S. education system. We interviewed college students, family members, and outside members of the Santa Clara community, asking them, is corporal punishment an effective way to deal with misconduct in schools?
I don't think it's effective.
I don't think that corporal punishment should be used in schools.
I really don't think so.
I wouldn't say most of the time, because I feel like there's a lot of room for that to escalate beyond what's appropriate, and like any discipline measure, it could turn into something ineffective.
We used to get paddled when we were in school. That's not politically correct anymore. Probably not. No, I don't think so.
I definitely don't think it's the appropriate time or place for corporal punishment. I believe that, if parents decide they want to do that, obviously at an appropriate level, not to the level of abuse, but I think at schools that's just not the time or place. I think it can create feelings of resentment, and also psychology has proven that punishment is not an effective form of eliminating behaviors. It only suppresses them.
So we just had our first interview, and only one of the people wanted to be recorded, but several other people at the table also gave their input after we finished our interview. And some of the ideas that they came up with were that paddling and physical punishment should be allowed in schools because you need to teach kids discipline at a really early age, and that if you don't teach them like morals and good behavior to start with, then they'll never learn it, they'll never grow up learning it. And they said that that is the reason why our society is kind of falling apart today.
I think that detention is a good way. Schools don't right now have the power to keep people after class, but I think if they could actually have them in detention for long periods of time, it'd be an effective way of getting people to pay attention.
Probably, if for children, I probably wouldn't go farther than detention.
Giving them time to reflect and understand why what they did was wrong, I think is important. Because at the end of the day, detention doesn't really, to me, serve that much of a purpose. It should be something associated with what they did wrong. So if you're writing on the walls, then you need to go clean the walls, right? Something like that. Definitely no violence.
Kids should be punished in a way that they could see the error of their ways. They should be shown that tagging and things like that is wrong by having to go back and repaint the wall. Or if they do destructive property, then they need to go back and rebuild the property themselves. So they should be shown the error of their ways.
Make kids pick up things off the playground. Do work like that.
So things like removing privileges, extra work, detail, not being able to attend events, and what's even better is if the punishment actually goes to help achieve the original goal. So for instance, in school, if someone's misbehaving, having them do an extra page of math problems. Students aren't going to like that, but it's actually, in the end, good for them. They're doing math problems. They might not like it, and they'll try to avoid it, but it's a positive reinforcement.
Effective discipline would be where the kid realizes what they've done is wrong and hopefully improves their behavior in the future.
And what do you think success looks like in relation to this?
Success would look like the child not repeating their mistake and trying better next time.
I think I'd have a strikeout system. I don't know how to describe it. Maybe just like first offense is just like a talking to or something. Second offense, maybe like a note home or something, or like a more stern talk with like a principal or some other authority figure. Then like a third talk would be like, I don't know what the most extreme one would be, but yeah, just kind of like that progression and like getting the parents involved later rather than sooner, because it could just be something small. So
maybe like one-on-one between the teacher and the student, and even like meeting with parents or somebody, because like a lot of kids, they have things going on at home that teachers aren't aware of, so they don't know. That might be a reason why they act out, and teachers just don't know. So I think it should be more like trying to figure out why they're acting this way, and maybe try to make the kids understand why they shouldn't act that way.
I think it would like depend on like the severity of what the kid was doing. Like I think if like the kid was just talking during class or something, like you just call them out in the second and be like, hey, please be quiet. And then if it like persists, just like pull them aside before, I don't know, like recess or something, and just talk to them.
I think one other alternative to corporal punishment is restorative justice. I think sometimes people act out because maybe they're not comfortable in a situation, or they don't feel understood, or just for whatever reason. And I believe that talking things out with the victim of whatever action was committed and whoever did it, as well as the rest of the community that was around, I feel like that can really bridge understanding and hopefully bridge forgiveness. And I think that sometimes we do things without realizing who they affect, and once you realize that, hopefully that will help prevent further hurtful actions.
I also think that like for the person that acted out, restorative justice just provides like a more comfortable space for them to explain themselves, and because obviously like the person that is affected, they're going to be more open, I think, with like how they feel about it and how they feel about the situation. But for the person that committed it, I think it's much harder to do that. So restorative justice really helps overcome that.
After we got all of our interviews, we created a word web of ideas that were presented. As we pulled the main ideas, we connected them to one another and found common themes. The majority of the solutions people gave fell into 3 categories of discipline. The 3 most popular solutions were restorative justice, loss of privilege, and traditional discipline practices such as detention and the 3 strikes policy.
One of the recurring solutions, though implicit, was restorative justice. Restorative justice is an effective, punitive response to wrongdoing. It is inspired by indigenous traditions. It brings together people that were harmed and people responsible for the harm in a safe and respectful environment. It allows for self-reflection, and it also reinforces a positive community and a positive atmosphere.
Using the loss of privilege to discipline students entails taking away privileges to discourage bad behavior. This method shows students that their actions have consequences that they want to avoid. The loss of privilege can take the form of losing recess, fun class roles, sports team privileges, field trips, school dances, and other enjoyable privileges.
A more traditional discipline method includes detention, suspension, Saturday school, and the 3 strikes out method. The 3 strikes out method uses a verbal warning for the first infraction, a conference with the teacher and a note home for the second, and a more severe consequence, such as Saturday school, for the third. It gives students a chance to correct their behavior before they receive punishment.
Overall, most of the people that we interviewed supported these solutions or similar discipline practices. Very few of the people advocated for corporal punishment, and those who did experienced it growing up. The responses that we got were heavily influenced by the fact that we were interviewing people in California in a more progressive area, and had we been in a state where corporal punishment is still legal, we likely would have received a very different response.